How are you, children? Hope you are fine and safe at home. Did you all do the homework given in the last class? Did you draw the diagrams in the notebook? In the last class, you studied about the transport in plants. The two main transporting tissues in plants are xylem and phloem. Today, let us study about the phloem. Xylem and phloem are the transporting tissues in plants. Xylem transport water and minerals from the root to upper parts of the plant. But phloem transport the prepared food from the leaf to other parts of the plant. Let us see the structure of the phloem. You learned in the lower class that xylem and phloem together known as vascular bundles. They are the complex tissues. That means they are made up of more than one type of cells. Let us see what are the parts of the phloem. Phloem consists of four types of cells. It is made up of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Here is the diagram of the LS of the phloem. In this LS, you can see that the sieve tubes and the companion cells. Let us see the first one, sieve tubes. What are sieve tubes? They are the long cylindrical cells connected end to end, and they have no nucleus. That means they are devoid of nucleus, and they are connected end to end and form a long tube. Their end walls are perforated. That means when we connect one, just think about a long pipe. In that, one pipe is connected to another pipe. So the end wall of the two pipes, that is perforated. That means that contains many small holes. Through that the food is transported. So the end walls are perforated, and that perforated part is called the sieve plate. In the diagram it is very clear. Here is a sieve tube. Here is another sieve tube. These two are connected by a sieve plate. In the sieve plate you can see many small holes. So it is called perforated. Its main function is to transport food. The next one is the companion cells. From the name itself it is clear that they are the cells connected to the phloem. So near the phloem sieve plate you can see many cells connected to the phloem. They are the companion cells. They also living thin-walled elongated cells, and they also help in the transport of food. Next is the phloem parenchyma. That means they are thin-walled cells like parenchyma cells. They are the parenchyma cells only, and they help in the storage of food. And the next cell in the phloem is phloem fibers. They are made up of sclerenchyma cells. You learned about the sclerenchyma cells in the last year. That is, they are dead cells. So sclerenchyma cells, they are very thick. They have thick-walled cells, and their main function is to give mechanical support to the plant. So these are the phloem. Phloem consists of sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. All these cells together known as the phloem. Since it is made up of four types of cells, it is a complex tissue. Next is the functions of the phloem. The phloem transport prepared food from the leaf to all other parts of the plant. And the phloem consists of many cells. The phloem parenchyma help in the storage of food. And the sclerenchyma cells present in the phloem help to provide mechanical support to the phloem. Next is the difference between xylem and phloem. You know, xylem and phloem transport materials. The transportation of material in xylem and phloem is entirely different. Xylem conducts water and minerals, but phloem conducts food. The conduction of food from the leaf to other parts of the plant is called translocation. So we can say phloem translocate the food. The second difference is xylem is made up of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. But phloem is made up of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Then the third difference between xylem and phloem is the conducting cells in xylem are dead. But in phloem, the conducting cells are living. Then the next difference is the conduction take place in xylem is unidirectional. That means roots absorb water from the soil. That water is transported to upper parts of the plant. So it goes only upwards. That is unidirectional. But in phloem, the conduction is bidirectional. That means the leaves prepare the food. That prepared food is transported to various parts of the plant. That may be downward or sidewards or maybe upwards. So it is bidirectional. And the another difference between xylem and phloem is the conduction through the xylem does not require any energy. But the conduction through the phloem requires energy. Now you know the roots of the plant absorb the water from the soil, and this water is transported to the upper parts of the plant through the xylem, and that water is used for photosynthesis, and after photosynthesis the prepared food is transported to all other parts of the plant through the phloem. Only the roots can absorb water, not the leaf or the stem. We can demonstrate it with the help of a simple experiment. Take 4 test tubes and arrange it as shown in the board. That means take first test tube and fill it with water, cover, make it airtight and keep it for some time. Take another test tube, name it as B, fill it with water, insert a small plant in that and add 1 drop of oil on the surface of the water to prevent the evaporation of water from the test tube. Take another test tube, name it as C, keep a plant in that like as B, but the only difference is that add 1 or 2 drops of colored ink in the third test tube. And take another test tube, fill it with water and keep a plant, but its roots should not touch in the water. Keep it the setup for some time. All these test tube without disturbing, keep for some time. After some times, observe these test tubes. Here in all the test tubes we added oil on the surface of the water. So the water will not be evaporated from the plant. Then after few hours, we can see that what would be the change in the test tube A? Can you see any change in that? No, the level of the water will remain unchanged. And in the second test tube, that is test tube B, the water level falls. Why the water level falls in the second setup? The roots absorb water from the test tube. So the water level decreases. Then in test tube C, here we took the colored water. So the water level decreases in setup C, and also you can see the stem and the leaves of this plant will be changed into red in color. And here the roots of the plant is not touching the water. So after few hours the plant will be wilted. From this simple experiment you can understand that only the roots can absorb water from the soil, not the leaves or the stem. And it is also conducted through the xylem. That is why it is conducted upward. That is why in third setup, the leaves and the stem became Right. That's all for today. We can make it more clear with the help of an animation.
Transport systems of plants. So we'll explore how they transport their sugars, which is known as translocation, and their water through transpiration. Plants make their own sugars through photosynthesis, but all of this photosynthesis happens in the leaves. So in order to share these sugars with the rest of the plant, so that they can be used for energy, they have to be transported somehow. This process is known as translocation, and it's mainly achieved by phloem cells, which are arranged end to end to form long columns that we call phloem tubes. If you look closely though, you can see that in between the adjacent cells there are lots of small pores or gaps, and these pores enable the movement of cell sap, which is basically a liquid mixture of water and sugar. This means that the sugars that were made in the leaves can be transported long distances through multiple cells. Once the sugars finally make it to whatever cells they're going to, they can be used for two things, either directly for energy, or they can be stored, so that they can be used for energy later. And one last thing to point out is that the phloem can transport substances in either direction, so up or down the plant. Next to the phloem tubes, we have xylem tubes. These are also made up of a column of cells, but this time they're dead xylem cells with no ends between them, so they effectively form one long hollow tube. And they're strengthened with a material called lignin. Their role is to transport both water and mineral ions from the roots up the stem to the leaves, where the water can be used in photosynthesis.
Phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fiber, and phloem parenchyma, which transports prepared food from leaves to the other parts of the plant.